Chapter 7: Cycles of Nature and Time. From the earliest moments of human awareness, life was understood not as a straight line but as a cycle. Long before clocks and calendars, people learned time by watching repetition. Day returning after night, seasons following one another, birth giving way to death and returning again through renewal. Time was not experienced as something moving forward endlessly. It was experienced as circling back. The natural world taught this lesson continuously. The sun rose and set each day, tracing a perfect arc across the sky. The moon grew, waned, disappeared, and returned. Plants sprouted, matured, withered, and re-emerged from the same soil. Animals followed rhythms of migration, reproduction, and rest. These patterns were not random. They formed a structure. Early humans did not separate themselves from these cycles. They lived within them. Survival depended on understanding when to plant, when to harvest, when animals would return, and when harsh conditions would arrive. Time was learned through attention, not measurement. As a result, cycles became sacred. The year itself was divided into repeating phases: growth, abundance, decline, and rest. These phases were marked by solstices and equinoxes, moments when the balance of light and darkness shifted. Such moments were observed carefully, often celebrated with ritual because they signaled change. In visual representations, cycles were often shown as circles or wheels. A circle had no beginning and no end. It represented continuity, return, and wholeness. Many ancient cultures imagined time itself as a great wheel turning endlessly. If you picture an ancient diagram, you might see a circle divided into sections, each section representing a season, a stage of life, or a cosmic phase. At the center stood stillness, while motion occurred along the edge. This symbolism reflected lived experience. Human life followed the same rhythm. Birth, growth, maturity, aging, and death were understood as stages rather than endpoints. Death was not final annihilation, but a return, either through offspring, memory, or transformation. Because of this, ancient cultures did not fear change in the way modern societies often do. Change was expected. It was necessary. Stability was found not in permanence, but in repetition. The agricultural cycle reinforced this worldview. Seeds were buried in the ground, seemingly lost, only to emerge again. Harvest required both patience and acceptance of decay. Rituals surrounding planting and harvest often mirrored myths of death and rebirth. These myths were not symbolic inventions detached from reality. They were stories of the cycle told in human language. Time was also observed through the sky. The movement of the sun across the horizon changed throughout the year. The length of days expanded and contracted. Certain stars rose and set at predictable times, marking seasonal transitions. In ancient illustrations, you would often see the sun depicted at different points along a circular path, sometimes accompanied by animals or symbols representing the qualities of each phase. These images helped communities remember where they stood within the cycle. The moon offered a more intimate rhythm. Its monthly phases provided a visible measure of time that aligned closely with biological cycles, especially those related to fertility and renewal. Lunar calendars governed rituals, festivals, and social organization. This cyclical understanding shaped early concepts of destiny. Fate was not a fixed path, but a rhythm, an unfolding pattern influenced by timing, alignment, and readiness. To act at the right moment was wisdom. To resist the cycle was folly. In myths, heroes often underwent journeys that mirrored natural cycles. They left home, faced trials, descended into darkness, and returned transformed. These stories reflected the same rhythm found in seasons and celestial motion. Over time, the symbolic understanding of cycles began to erode. Linear thinking emerged. History was reinterpreted as a straight progression from beginning to end. Time became something to be controlled, measured, and spent. With this shift came anxiety. When time is linear, loss feels permanent. When cycles are forgotten, change feels threatening. Yet cycles never disappeared. They continued to govern nature, bodies, and even societies. Economic booms and collapses, cultural rises and declines, personal phases of growth and withdrawal, all followed repeating patterns. Modern science, in many ways, has rediscovered what ancient observers already knew. Systems oscillate, energy flows in cycles, stability emerges through fluctuation, not stasis. This chapter reveals that time, as originally understood, was not an enemy, it was a guide. By observing cycles, early humans aligned themselves with forces larger than individual will. To live well was to move with the cycle, to act when the time was ripe, to rest when decline was natural, and to trust that renewal would follow. Cycles of nature and time remind us that endings are never absolute. They are thresholds. What appears to vanish is often preparing to return in a new form. In remembering this, ancient cultures found resilience. And in remembering it again, so can we.